This is my review and recap of episode 13, Star Trek Discovery, What's Past is Prologue. So basically, Lorca is going to attempt a coup on the Empress, and he's been planning this for a year. His forces were in captivity on the Empress's ship being tortured. He lets them all out and gathers his forces together and tells them, I have a plan. And he was on the Baran and got to the Prime Universe basically the same way Kirk did. There was an ion storm and he transported over it and there was an accident. And that's how he got to the Prime Universe. So this episode is basically him overthrowing the Empress. And it's a lot of action, and I thought it was a very good episode. One of the top 2 or 3 episodes because they had a lot of plot development and a lot of action. Basically, Lorca tells the Mirror Stamets, you're going to be useful to me if you help me get this bioweapon going you were working on. He uses it to kill her part of the crew of the Empress. And meanwhile, Burnham and the Empress are in their secret hiding chambers talking. And Burnham says, look, let me contact the Discovery. And she says, no, you can't do that. So the Discovery's out there heading their way. And Lorca is also heading her way. And Burnham is in there as like independent third party that's going to help things, supposedly. She's like Mary Sue. I've heard that before. And I kind of agree with it now. I did think this was a good episode, though. They were acting more Starfleet. Saru takes command of the Discovery, and he does a good job giving him a pep talk. He's like, I know I am designed to sense the coming of death, but I don't sense it now. And that surprised me a little bit. And he built up the courage of the crew to work for him, and he's a great captain, and everything's Starfleet, and that's what's going on with the Discovery. What's going on the Palace ship is the Empress is looking for Lorca, and Lorca sends this chick out, and she goes, yes, he sent me over here to tell you he's coming, and then he shoots her, and he's vaporized. And a lot of people were shot and vaporized indiscriminately and quickly on this show. I think because Discovery's trying to say, look, it's a dramatic space battle show and people die. And that's what they're saying. This corridor scene reminded me of Star Wars trash compactor scene. They basically shoot at the Empress, the force field goes up, they keep shooting at the force field. Eventually the force field goes down, the Empress site-to-site transports away. So that was one big fight scene that was real episodic and, over the top. And even turret guns come out of the side of the walls and start shooting. I thought that was a little bit too much, but it was exciting, and it did move the plot along. Now, Lorca uses Stamets' knowledge of what he was doing on the Empress's ship to release like a biotoxin gas and knock everybody out and kill them. And meanwhile, Burnham is trying to contact the Discovery. She goes into the Jeffries tubes and gets Saru and tells him, oh yeah, Lorca's from the Mirror Universe. That's why he's such an a-hole. And Saru's like, oh wow, I wonder why I didn't sense it. But Saru gets command. He's the captain of Discovery, and he rallies the troops, and it was pretty nice the way he's being more Starfleet. And they're talking about Starfleet and the Federation more and more because they're going to eventually go back to it and try to repair things, I hope. Lorca made an example of Mirror Stamets by killing him awful quick as soon as he got what he needed from him. And that was a little harsh, I felt. I think they turned Lorca into an a-hole too quickly, but they had to do it because they want to move the plot along. So he's like killing people left and right. Oh, Michael Burnham, I love you. You're the greatest. So come on out and help me join the Empire and overthrow the Empress. But she's hiding, talking to the Discovery. Lorca's heading towards the Empress's chamber, and the Empress is getting ready for him. That's what's going on basically this whole episode, and then it comes to a head. So basically the plan is Burnham and the Empress are going to surrender themselves to Lorca and do something and get the shields down so that the Discovery could come in and shoot that generator that runs off the mycelial network. So the whole plan is Burnham is going to be awesome and do something to get the shields down because she's Mary Sue and can do anything, which is okay. I mean, I never noticed that till recently, but this episode they depend on that a lot. They don't really have a plan, but Saru is waiting to hear from Burnham to attack. And meanwhile, they're turning themselves in to Lorca's forces, and I don't know how that plan they had to, we're going to turn ourselves in and everything's going to be fine, but that's what happens. There's another big fight scene, and all else falls into place, which is what's always going to happen in Star Trek. I really didn't dissect it this much when I was watching it. I just enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable episode. But when I'm making this review, as I'm thinking about it, that's not really much of a plan. I really feel like Discovery was made to push CBS All Access, and that's what's created these problems. They're making everything over the top dramatic, like all the universes are going to end if they don't do it a certain way. I mean, The Next Generation had that in a couple of episodes, but it felt more forced in this episode. So the Discovery crew under Saru figures out technobabble style that they can save all the universes and get home by riding the shockwave that's going to be created when they destroy the mycelial network and the generator that runs off the mycelial networks on the Empress's ship. So they're waiting for Burnham to get the shield down so they can swoop in and destroy the generator, ride the shockwave home, thusly saving the universe and getting home. So they're contacting the Emperor's ship, talking over there, waiting for Burnham to give them a signal. Burnham tells them something in the background of their conversation, and they start shooting at the Empress's ship, waiting for Burnham to get the shield down. That's what's going on right now. Now, I felt like this was a little pushed and like forced on us, that they're going to ride this shockwave home and save the universe and all multiverses, but at least they mentioned multiverse, and they're talking about more Starfleet and more Federation ideals, and it made me feel like this is a good Starfleet type episode. Saru turned into a captain real quick and acted with good authorization and real captain-like. He gave a couple of pep talks and speeches that actually seemed kind of fan-serving. Like one of them was, "We will not accept a no-win situation," or "We will not accept a no-win scenario." They're obviously lifting that right out of a couple of Star Trek movies and stuff, but it did feel good. And like in the last episode, Saru acted more captain-like, beaming Ash Tyler into there with Laurel. He does more of that in this episode and acts totally like a captain. They're probably going to make him captain for if not next season, the rest of this season for sure. This is the other epic battle scene between the Empress, Lorca, Burnham, and Landry, basically. They fight real hard, and even though Lorca's a badass and almost invincible, oh, and he tells Burnham, "You're better than the other Burnham, so join me." And she's like, "No." And meanwhile, Empress stabs him in the heart with her giant sword and throws him in the mycelial network trapdoor pit. Although, if that was the Nexus, Lorca could technically come back to life. He might be down there with Kirk and Picard right now in the Nexus, but you know they're probably not going to do that. But you could pretty much do anything in Star Trek. That's why I have hopes for this show. So that's a big bummer that Lorca is dead, but hopefully the Prime Lorca will come out, but he might not. That was about the best character in here that I figured out and understood where he was coming from. So what's going to happen next is Discovery is going to swing around and shoot at the Empress's ship. And so Burnham jumps on the Empress and takes her with him, and I pretty much knew that was going to happen. At this point, everything's in place for what I was hoping was going to happen. The Discovery was going to swing around, shoot at the Empress's ship, destroy the mycelial generation ball that runs her ship, and ride the shockwave back to the Prime Universe or something like that. And that's what they're doing. And everybody on the Empress's ship is like, "What the hell are they doing?" Okay, well, that's what they always say. And several times in Star Trek history, they've ridden big, giant shock waves. On Voyager, I know they did it a couple of times on the Next Generation, so they do the same thing here. They swing around, blow up the generational mycelium network ball, and ride the shock wave home, and Stamets helps him because he's healed 100% the original Stamets. And while he's in the mycelial network, the doctor guides him. He's like, "How am I going to do this?" And the doctor says, "You can do it, Paul. Think of the song that we sang." And that's what he does. This is a nice, touching scene, not as much as it was in the last episode. So Paul is in the mycelial network concentrating. He hones in on the signal of his doctor's friend, who's in the Nexus, I believe, and guides them home. Now, he could take many paths, and these are all different universes, I believe. So who knows? Maybe they wind up in a different universe, because they mentioned multiverse in this episode. And I'm hoping at the end of this, when they come out and everything, the Klingons have all taken over, they overshot it by 9 months. They get back supposedly to the Prime Universe, but they overshot it by 9 months. Oh yeah, and a little golden spark lands on Tilly's shoulder right there. So she's going to have some kind of special power in the future. They're just doing that for season 2 so they can pretty much write whatever they want. which is going to make her like captain like all of a sudden. I thought it was a really good episode, 9 out of 10. If it was a little bit better, I would give it a 10 out of 10. This could have been the season finale. So yeah, when they get back, they're 9 months ahead in time. So they actually did time travel. So they could probably going to have to go back in time and fix this. When they arrive back in their supposed universe, they see that the Klingons control everything and have taken over like 3/4 of all the space. Now, when this has happened in the past, when they've arrived back where they came from, in some time travel episode or anything, they always have to go back in time to fix it. So hopefully they're going to go back in time and reset some things. Well, this is Trek Genius. Live long and prosper. Hopefully we're going back in time next episode. Over and out.